All right, how's it going, guys? I'm going to teach you how to play Jarl. This is my 18 card solo civilization building game. It is just the 18 cards, so you don't need external components. 17 of those cards are these action cards, and then one of them is your player map. Thematically, you are a Nordic noble at the onset of the Viking Age, so you're trying to build out your civilization in a way that gets you the most possible victory points at the end of the game. Those victory points can come from a number of different sources, which I will get to. But for now, let's just teach you how to set your player mat on the table in front of you. It has two sides. This side has a reminder of the 4 different actions you can take, and this side has just other game rules. Once you know how to play the game, this is like almost all the rules for the game. So it doesn't matter which face you have face up, just whatever. You can also flip it during the game, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want. There, shuffle up the action card deck, and I'm going to set it over here, giving myself a little bit of space between the two. You need to have space around this thing for a few things. The first thing is you need space right here for the discard pile, and then you need room for 3 spaces above it. 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I counted out of order there. This section right here, excuse me one second. This section right here, the 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, that's going to be something called the C. Cards are going to be going into that C, and the C is like a temporary discard pile, or it's more like a waiting room for the discard pile. You're going to be able to, in some ways, interact with the C, but once cards get into the discard pile, they're gone for the round. We're going to play through 4 rounds, so orient this card so that this icon here is called a pip. Orient it so the 1 pip is on top, because that's going to help us track our round. Then draw your initial hand of 3. Your hand size is 3 at the start of the game, so I'm going to put this in my hand. And then you're going to populate the C with 1 initial card off the top of the deck, and you're ready to get started. So the goal of this game is to score points. You get points from a number of different places. I will introduce those quickly now, and then we'll probably have to go over them again once you know what those terms actually mean. Built technologies give you their pips. So if I develop this technology, I get its 4 pips. So that's out on the board. I get those 4 points at the end of the game. Wealth in your storehouse. So a card like that would give me 3 wealth, which that just converts straight to points at the end of the game. And then populated kingdoms. So kingdoms with a matching suit of citizen are considered populated. So a red citizen populates a red kingdom. So I get to count these points at the end of the game. And then if there's any scoring conditions on the technologies you've built. So I don't think I have one out. Yeah, I do here. +2 victory points for each wealth card. So that's only active if that card is developed as a technology. Okay. Otherwise, the rest of the game is just, there's 4 main actions. 2 of the actions have sub-actions. So you have 2 options within that action. The 4 actions correlate to, I'm going to find a blue card here. I should have stacked the deck for this. This is riveting television right here. Okay. There's 4 suits of cards: blue, yellow, red, gray. Most of the information in a given suit remains consistent with that suit. The only thing that changes is every card has a unique technology name and effect. So all 17 of these are different from each other, but inside a given suit, there's common information. This stuff around the outside all stays the same. So all yellow cards are trade actions. This is the action on the top. This is the kingdom. Now the kingdom name, Denmark here, that's just for flavor. That actually has no game effect. What you're looking for is, this is a yellow kingdom, and it's a 1 pip card. So all yellow cards are 1 pip. Blue is 2 pip. Red is 3 pip. And gray is 4 pip. Okay, the rest of this card on the left side here, it tells you what citizen type it is. All yellow cards are farmers. And then on the bottom here, if this is in your storehouse, this is a grain resource card. And this is just a reminder that this is a 1 pip card. You can see wood cards, reminder that it's a 2 pip card, but that's the same as up here. So all you're doing on your turn is you're playing a card and then you're resolving its action. So the actions are up here on top, and those reminders are right here. So one thing you can do is you can play a yellow card. So you place the card on the table. I'm playing that card. When I'm done with this card, at the end of resolving this action, I'm going to put this into the C. The C has 3 columns, like I said. So when I'm done resolving the action, I'm going to make room for this, slide this over, and now that's in the C. There's a few ways I could interact with it from here. However, let's say this was the board state, and my C is full. There's 3 cards in the C. After resolving an action, I put this in the C, and I have to move cards over to make room, and you can see this one fell off the end here. That's going to go right here. This is the discard pile. Once the whole deck is depleted, that's the end of the round. Once cards are in your discard pile, they're basically gone for the round. You can't get them back, but there's ways to interact with them while they're in the C. Okay, what was I doing? Let's get back to where we were. You can take the trade action. So if I play a yellow card, I'm going to put this back on the deck. If I play a yellow card, I can have 2 choices here. I can attract, so create a citizen from hand or C. So that just means I can grab a card from the C, any one of these 3 cards if there were 3 cards here, or a card from my hand, and I tuck it on the left side. It's now a citizen. You have to abide your citizen capacity, and that's noted on the back here. Your citizen capacity is a default of 1. However, you get +1 capacity for each food pip in your storehouse. Food, there's 2 suits that provide food when they're in your storehouse. So you've got red cards that are livestock. That's considered food. Those are 3 pip cards. And you've got grain cards that are the yellow cards, and they are 1 pip cards. So my citizen capacity is 1 plus the number of food pips. So right now I have 4 food pips, so I could have a total of 5 citizens over here if I wanted. Okay, the other thing you could choose to do instead of the attract action is the sell action if you trade. Sell is convert a resource to wealth. So if cards down here in your storehouse are considered resources, if I take the sell action, I can take 1 card from my resources and I can tuck it up on top as wealth. So you look at how many pips it has. This is a 3 pip card. I'll flip it over, orient the card so it's like that, and now this is stored as wealth, and these are victory points at the end of the game. Or if I play a blue card, that's a voyage action. So if I play that out, I have 2 options for what to do there. You can settle, which is convert a citizen into a kingdom. That's real easy. You just grab a card that is tucked as a citizen. So I have my farmer here. Take it out, and I'm going to tuck it on the right side instead. Now I have a yellow kingdom. And like I said, Denmark is just for flavor here. The important thing is this is a yellow kingdom. Yellow kingdoms have 1 pip. Okay. Or I can raid. This is like a workaround way. It's a less efficient way to get resources in your storehouse, but it's an option there. Raid is store a card from the C, discarding a number of cards from hand equal to its pips. That sounds confusing, but it's not too bad. So I play this card, and let's say, there we go, let's do this. I play my voyage action. I choose the raid option. I'm going to raid, which means I'm going to store a card from the C. The only card I can actually afford is this card, because I only have 2 cards remaining in my hand. And so I couldn't afford the 3 cards that it would take to store this card. So instead, I'm going to actually store this yellow card. It only has 1 pip. So I'm going to discard a card from my hand, and then I get to store this grain card. Now it's in my storehouse. Okay, and the other, those were both options. Settle and raid are the 2 options when you voyage. And you can tax red cards. You get to store resources from hand and sea to match your kingdoms. That also sounds more confusing than it actually is. So let's just say that was my board state. I have 1 red kingdom. If I play the tax action, let's say this is my hand. I'm going to play a red card for the tax action. That means I get to basically copy my kingdom. So think of this as taxing your kingdoms. I have 1 red kingdom here. That means I get to tuck 1 red card on the bottom as a resource. So red kingdoms give you livestock. Gray kingdoms would give you metal. So if this was my board state, and I took the tax action, I would be allowed to tuck both a red card and a gray card on the bottom. I don't have a gray card available anywhere. You can skip any number of these, but this is what you are allowed to tuck if you take the tax action. And then finally, gray cards have the develop action on them. Develop is you develop a technology from hand, show resources of that suit from hand and storehouse equal to its pips. Again, not as bad as it sounds. So I play the develop card here, and let's say this is my hand, and I want to build, I want to develop this leather technology. I'm going to pretend I played it down here, just get it out of the way. Developing a technology means you get to set the card on the table on its own, and now its technology effect is in play. So to do so, you have to show cards equal to its number of pips. Red cards are 3 pip cards, so I would have to show 3 red cards in order to develop a red technology. One important thing is the card itself counts as showing a card of that color for itself. So really all I need is 2 cards other than the card I want to develop to show that are red. You can show from 2 places, either from your hand or from your storehouse. This would actually be a good example, or a combination thereof. So I play this for its develop action. I want to develop this leather. I know I need to show 3 red cards. The card itself is showing for itself, so that's 1. I have a red card in my storehouse, so that's 2. And I also have another red card in my hand, so that's 3. So I do get to build that, and then I would discard this to the sea. Oh, not discard, I would put it into the sea. Discarding, if something calls you to discard, it means put it directly into the discard pile. Otherwise, you're going to be putting stuff into the sea. Okay, those are the 4 main actions. A few things to know. Your hand size, I think I talked about this, but we'll go over it again. Maybe I didn't talk about it. Your default hand size is 3. You increase that by 1 for each kingdom you have. So if this was my board state, I have 1 kingdom, my hand size is now 4. Citizen capacity, your default is 1. So at the beginning of the game, I could create a citizen right away, and I'd be fine, but I couldn't create more than this. So your citizen capacity is +1 for each food, grain or livestock, pip in the storehouse. So if I had this grain card as a resource, that ups my citizen capacity by 1 because it has 1 pip. If I have this red card in my storehouse, that ups my citizen capacity by 3 because that has 3 pips. So livestock is more efficient use of food. Wealth capacity. You actually don't get to start the game with any capacity to put cards up here as wealth. But you get +1 wealth capacity for every food or every wood pip that's in your storehouse. So wood has 2 pips on it. So if I have 1 wood card, that's 2 pips. Now I have room for 2 wealth cards to be able to store those or save those. Okay. The other 2 things on here, we'll save invasion for last here, but rest. On your turn, sometimes you're either out of cards or you're out of things that you can or want to do. And if that ever happens, instead of taking an action, you're free anytime on your turn unless you're in the middle of taking an action. You can choose to rest. Resting just means discard a card. So discard. It's not discard. This is an outdated. Don't listen to me. This is an outdated prototype. You need to put a card into the sea from either your hand or the top of your deck, and then you get to draw to fill your hand to your hand size. So I have 2 cards in my hand, and I'm going to put 1 into the sea, and then I get to draw to fill my hand to my hand size. I don't have any kingdoms yet, so I'm going to fill my hand to 3, because that's your starting hand size. Alternatively, let's say this was my board state, and I wanted to rest. Instead of putting a card from my hand into the sea, I could just top deck it, put a card from the top of the deck into the sea, and then I could draw to fill my hand. Okay? Then you have invasions. So the round ends when everything is gone from the deck. Now you can play out as long as you can still do stuff and want to do stuff. you can keep taking actions with the cards in your hand, but as soon as the deck runs out, the option to end the round is there. If you can't take any more actions, like for instance, if I have no more cards in my hand, then you have to end the round. At the round end, the first thing you actually do, I'm going out of order here. This is the round end process. First thing you do, discard your hand if you have any. Discard the C. So now we have the one discard pile here. Shuffle this up. And then create your deck for the next round. So let's say we were on round 1. Now we rotate this so the 2 pips are up. Now we're on round 2. Before you move on, though, you immediately have to face an invasion before you even draw up your hand for the next round. Okay, an invasion. Invasion strength is equal to the round number plus 1. This is wrong. It's equal to the round number plus 1. I need to fix that. So the round that just ended, we were on round 1. 1 plus an additional 1, that's 2. So it's basically, you can think of it 2 ways. The last round that is ending, add 1 to that, or what the round that's coming, use that as your number. Sorry, I bumped my camera there. I'm getting flustered. So at the end of round 1, you're facing invasion strength of 2. At the end of round 2, you're facing invasion strength of 3. You have to face one final invasion at the end of round 4. So at the end of round 4, you face invasion strength of 5. What happens with an invasion is you can either defend it successfully or defend it unsuccessfully. If you're unsuccessful in defending it, you have to discard cards equal to the invasion's strength. And this is all or nothing. You can't block part of it and only discard a few cards. You either have to block all of the invasion or none at all. So if you're unsuccessful, you have to discard cards before you do anything else in the coming round. So this would be an invasion strength of 2. If I'm unsuccessful, I just discard the top 2 cards before I get to do anything. That's bad because, first of all, I don't know what these cards are, and I might be counting on seeing those this round. And second of all, it's removing it. You're taking a tempo hit because you're losing those cards, which you could be doing stuff with. So losing 2 invasions are bad. To defend an invasion, you just have to have citizens that enough citizen defense existing. So by default, 1 citizen gives you 1 defense point. So if I had this was my tableau. I have 2 citizens, that's 2 defense points. That is able to defend successfully against an invasion of strength 2. Where metal comes into play, I don't know why I assumed there'd be a metal card on top there. Where metal comes into play is every 1 metal in your storehouse, every 1 metal card in your storehouse can arm 1 citizen. Armed citizens count for 2 defense points instead of just 1. So if this was my board state, I could still defend against that invasion because even though I have 1 citizen, that 1 citizen is armed by this 1 metal, and therefore my defense is 2 instead of 1. Every metal card only defends or only arms 1 citizen. So if this was my board state here, I have 1 metal in the storehouse and 2 citizens. I could pick which one of these to arm. Most of the time it doesn't matter which, but sometimes it does. I pick this farmer is armed, so this is 2 defense points here. I'm out of metal cards to cover this guy, so my herder is unarmed, and so I have 3 defense total from this. Okay, I need to jump in, and there's one rule that I forgot to mention, so we'll cut in here. For when you take an action, you play a card for an action, for every technology that you have already developed of that suit, you get to optionally repeat the action again. So if I were to play a voyage action, I get to take the action from this card, and then I get to repeat it again if I want to because I have a blue card already developed. Likewise, if I would take a trade action right now, I could take this trade action, then I could take 2 more trade actions based on having these 2 cards of the same suit out. One small important rule there is for the 2 actions that have the 2 options in them. So trade, you can attract or sell, and voyage, you can settle or raid. Whichever of those 2 options you choose as your first action and you get to repeat it, then you have to choose the same option. So if I was going to play this card for a trade action and I chose the sell option, all of my repeats of that action are going to have to be using the sell option as well. Okay, back to the video. Thanks. Okay, those are all the rules. At the end of the game, sum your points from the different places. We'll go over these again, and they'll hopefully make more sense. Cards in your storehouse, you count their pips. Or sorry, not your storehouse. Cards saved as wealth, just count their pips. So I got 3 points coming from there. Any developed technologies, so let's say those are my technologies. I've got 2 points coming from here, 1 point coming from here, so just count the pips. And then populated kingdoms. So let's say, here, we'll just run with this as an example. Let's say I've got a gray kingdom and a blue kingdom, and I have 1 gray citizen. This gray citizen populates this gray kingdom, so I get 4 points out of that kingdom. This blue kingdom doesn't have a blue citizen to cover it, so it doesn't provide any points. So in this game, I would have 3 points of wealth, 4 points from my populated kingdoms, so that's 7, and then 8, 9, 10 points total. The only other place you could get points is some of these technology effects have scoring abilities on them. Like here, Mail says at game end, armed citizens add their pips to your score. This is only in play if I've developed that as a technology. So, okay, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching. I hope you check out the game.